First, I should tell you that it is April 8th, 4:58 p.m. in the early evening, and I should have made this video much earlier today, like around 6:15 in the morning. But guys, I had to get to work. I had an experience. It was brief, but very powerful. And yes, it was astral projection. And well, let me get right into the experience. I should tell you that, first of all, for those of you who follow the channel, you know, it's been a little bit since I've had an experience. And you also know that I tend to get a bit nervous when this happens. But I tell you, my guides, they definitely let me know that I am still active and I can still leave my body in a moment's notice. All throughout last night, first of all, I went to bed a little early last night, and got up late, and I was doing things. I was studying Spanish and doing all the usual things I do late at night when I get some sleep. And then I went to sleep at some point in the middle of the night. It was probably like 2:00 in the morning or so. And I slept for 4 hours. Now, I kind of had the intent. I wanted to leave my body, but it just didn't happen. And when I opened my eyes and it was 6 in the morning, I was like, oh, well, I guess, I wasn't able to accomplish anything with this. So I'm just going to get ready for work. But I thought to myself, well, I'm just going to shut my eyes for a half hour or so. I'm just going to lay here. I turned on NPR, which is something that I like to listen to as I'm getting ready for work. So I turned that on my iPad and I just laid down and I shut my eyes. My intent was just to rest for a half hour before getting ready for work. But that's not how this happened, actually. It was pretty crazy. So at some point, I went into that in-between state, and it was sudden, as it is sometimes, quite sudden. And when it happened, for whatever reason, and I guess this must have been in my mind, somewhere in the back of my mind. Again, for those of you who follow the channel, you know that I lost, two people that I was close friends with when I was younger. And there was one that I made a video about, and I stayed in touch with him for many years. Well, I had felt guilty, I think, before this person had passed, because I really didn't feel as if I spent an appropriate amount of time with him. So I felt very guilty about that. And well, in this moment, when I went into that in-between state, for whatever reason, and I'm not sure why it came out at that moment, I started just in my thoughts thinking out loud, saying that I wish I would have spent more time with you. I wish that I would have had more moments with you, and I am so sorry. I mean, I don't remember all the exact words, but it was almost like an apology to him for not being there for him as much as I feel that I should have been. Well, as I was finishing this apology, there was a force, and I have to tell you guys, this blew me away. I have never felt a force this powerful. There was a force that it felt as if that force pulled me out of my body, or I went out of my body with that immense force. Either way, I have never, ever, in all the times I've been astral projecting, I have never felt a force this powerful. It was so powerful. I came out right as I was finishing up the apology. And with a speed that was far beyond my comprehension, I went straight down through the floor and it was just moving, moving really, really fast. Now, I know this was not beyond body. I know this was astral projection because I felt myself separate from my body. But again, the separation and the movement was so fast, there would have been no way I would have been able to see my body. I moved so quickly. It was startling to me how fast I moved. So at some point, I came to a stop, and it was fairly sudden, but it was still dark. And for those of you who know about astral projection, you know that there are some people that talk about, well, they call it astral blindness. You can't see at first. I know over all the years of astral projecting that all I have to do is kind of really think I want to see, and suddenly I can see. So this process was a little slower though, guys. This took a little longer. I had to really adjust because at first it was darkness, and then, by the way, I could feel a wall right in front of me. And I remember with both my hands, or at least the sense that I got was whatever my spirit being uses as hands, they were against this wall and they were kind of feeling along it. And I was kind of moving along almost as if I was blind a little bit. And I was thinking to myself, okay, I want to see this, scene is going to reveal itself at some point. And gradually it did. The darkness lifted, as it always does. And I was in this very interesting house. Now, I have to tell you, as soon as I arrived, there was a certain excitement in me because my first thought was, I'm going to see my friend. Now, it was just inside of me. I was like, okay, I know I'm going to see him, and it's just going to be within a matter of moments. But let me explain the scene to you, what I was seeing around me. So this house had paintings on the wall, and out of all the paintings, I remember there were various ones, but I focused on one. There was one, I believe it was flowers. It might have been sunflowers. And I just looked at that. I focused on that for a few moments. Then I looked down and there were a number of lamps. Now, I must tell you that even though the darkness had lifted, I'm going to say it was a living room because that's what I think it was. This living room was still dark. And I saw various types of lamps. The other thing is I thought New Orleans. Now, I don't know why this popped into my head, but that's what I thought. I thought New Orleans. And it may have been because of the design of the inside of this house, maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but it just had popped into my mind. Now, I don't know what my friend had to do with New Orleans because my friend wasn't from New Orleans, but that was the thought that popped into my head. I thought, as I was standing there in the middle of this living room and where all these various lamps were and the paintings were, I thought to myself, well, maybe I should turn on one of the lights because I'm having a difficult time seeing. I couldn't really take everything in at that point. So the thought kind of came into my head, turn on a light so that I can see. So just as I had this thought, and just as I was going to try and reach for one of the lamps to attempt to turn it on, a woman walked out of, I could see her come out of a corner. She was, okay, so if I was in the living room, maybe if you walked further down and then you turned, you might see rooms, maybe a kitchen or whatever. I just know that this lady came out of an area that was a little bit of a distance away from me. Now, when she walked out, the first time she walked out, let me describe, I tell you, this woman looked very interesting. First of all, she was wearing clothing that suggested that she may have been from the 18th century. She was African American, and she looked like she could have been in her early 60s, brown hair, extremely eloquent. Her hair was drawn back. She had the kind of hat they would have in the 18th century, a long dress. And the other thing about this woman and what she was dressed in, she was dressed in the most beautiful blue maybe that I've ever seen. It was so beautiful. This dress was so beautiful. This woman was so eloquent and beautiful. She was absolutely amazing. And when she saw me, she flipped around as if she was going back, because I thought I scared her, because she turned real fast when she saw me. And I was like, oh no, I said, wait a minute. Because I was trying to get her attention. I'm like, I don't mean to, I'm not here to hurt you or anything. This is, of course, again, for those of you who follow this channel, this is my worst nightmare, that I'm going to run into someone. I'm going to be in someone's house. They're going to be like, what are you doing here? So I'm thinking to myself, this person's really nervous because they just saw me in their house. So when I walked up to her. I said, excuse me. She stopped, she turned, and she came back. Now, she didn't come right up on me. And then again, I've had beings come right up on me and get too close. She kept her distance. And I remember I said, excuse me. I said, I'm from Earth. I don't know why I said I'm from Earth. I mean, I had astral projected. Who knows where I was? I don't know if I was, but, well, I shouldn't say who knows. My feeling was I was somewhere near my friend. I couldn't see him. And goodness knows, by the way, I wasn't expecting to see a woman. I think that was the other part of this. I was expecting to see my friend. I was expecting to see him, and I was going to, shake his hand and, hey, what's going on? I miss you, blah, blah, blah. But when I saw the woman, it took me by surprise. This is one of the other reasons why, by the way, side note here, why I tell you not to have expectations when you do this, when you have these experiences. And if you are looking for a loved one, do not have expectations of what you're going to see, because you may not see what you think you're going to see. It certainly happened to me this time. So I tell this woman I'm from Earth. And for whatever reason, I tell her I'm from the 20th century, even though, well, technically I'm from the 21st. I don't know why I said 20th century. I may have said 21st century. I said either the 20th century or the 21st century. So this is what I told her. And I was asking her, what is this place? So I didn't ask her if my friend was there. The first thing I asked her is, what is this place? She spoke to me, guys, and I could not understand what she was saying. I couldn't make out the words. There was some sort of something that was blocking me. And my theory, and this is just a theory, is that because I had NPR on, and by the way, guys, as I traveled, I could hear NPR. So I was definitely doing that, being in two places at once. So I could hear the talk in the backdrop, and I was still aware of it. But I was focused on this lady in this place. However, I think because I had NPR on, I wasn't able to understand her. There was something happening with what I believe, which I'm sure, I'm thinking I'm talking to her, but this is more than likely telepathic, this communication. And if it's telepathic and it has to do with my mind to some degree, I was having difficulty because there was this talking that was going on, on Earth, near my body. And I couldn't turn off my iPad at that moment. So this went on for a few moments, and then I struggled to talk with this person, and suddenly I was back. I opened my eyes. I wrote down my experience, and I went to work, and now I'm here speaking with you. It was very interesting, but my belief, by the way, guys, and this is just, again, another theory that I have. My belief is that, yes, my friend was there. That's what I sensed. I sensed that my friend was there. However, I think he may have still been in transition. And I believe this can happen, it can take quite some time. But it shows me that while this is my theory, I really can't say this for certain. I can't say that this was for certain. And for those folks, and I know there are people who ask those of us who do astral projection, do you know what happens after you die? This is one of the reasons why I say I absolutely don't know. I don't know the whole process. I don't know how long it takes, if there is such a thing as how long in a place that time doesn't exist. I don't know any of those things. All I can do is theorize on these things, and my belief is that my friend is still in a transition period, and this may have been his guide or a representative for him who would come out just to tell me, hey, look, he's not quite ready to communicate with you yet. Just the theory. Anyway, thank you so much for going on this journey with me. And until next time, take care.